Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to share an honest look at the lives of low-income people who do manual work in the Vietnamese countryside. What is their daily life really like? Is the income from farming enough to cover everyday expenses? Through this video, I also hope to show you a more personal and realistic perspective, one that may be different from what you often see online or read in the news. So, what is life in my hometown actually like? Let's explore it together. Hello everyone, my name is Nhu and I am 22 years old. I live in the countryside with my parents. Their main occupation is farming. Before starting the day's work, I want to show you 3 puppies that were recently born at our home. Their mother usually gives birth about twice a year, with several puppies in each litter. We feed them cornmeal mixed with other food. Dogs eat quite a lot, but of course, we cannot let them go hungry. It is now 7:30 in the morning. My mother went to the garden about 30 minutes ago and I am getting ready to follow her and help with the work. I am an only child, so I want to do my best to share some of my parents' workload. This is our family's storage area. When people in the countryside go out to work in the garden, we usually wear old clothes so we do not ruin our newer ones. As a young woman, I still try to take care of myself. I worry that my hands may become rough and calloused, but that is almost impossible to avoid when you work on a farm. Before leaving, I have to lock the gate. Our garden is right behind the house. This is the guava tree in front of our home. It produces a lot of fruit, but because we do not have much time to take care of it, some of the guavas are damaged by insects. This morning, I am helping my mother in the garden. More specifically, I will be removing unwanted shoots from the coffee trees. There are only 3 people in my family, so I need to do my best to help my parents. I understand that they are getting older and are no longer as strong as they used to be. In the future, I may be the one who continues taking care of this garden, so I need to learn and become familiar with the work from now on. This is a durian tree. In recent years, demand for Vietnamese durian from the Chinese market has increased. So many local farmers have started growing this crop. However, when too many people grow the same thing, the supply increases and prices can fall. That is why farmers do not always have a stable income. They also have to deal with the weather, pests, fertilizer costs, and uncertainty about where and how their produce will be sold. These coffee trees have been growing here for a very long time. I have to remove unnecessary shoots so the trees can focus their nutrients on the fruit and help the coffee cherries grow better. These are still green coffee cherries. While working and helping my parents, I often think about my future. I am a young woman, and where I live, people sometimes assume that a girl who stays in the countryside and works on a farm is unsuccessful or does not have a good job. I know that many women my age are studying or working in clean offices. Meanwhile, I am here working in my family's small garden. Sometimes I do feel a little sad when I compare myself to them. But this is my real life, and this work has supported my family for many years. In about 3 months, this coffee garden will be ready for harvest. Coffee usually has one main harvest each year. Farmers depend on that harvest to earn enough money to cover their living expenses, repay what they invested, and prepare for the next season. It is not easy to become wealthy through farming, so local people often grow several crops together, such as coffee, durian, and black pepper. This gives them more than one source of income and reduces the risk of losing everything when the price of one crop falls. What do you think of this durian? At the time I filmed this video, durian in my area was selling for around 65,000 Vietnamese dong per kilogram, which is nearly $3. However, the price can change depending on the season, quality, and variety. The durians in our garden are still small. My family grows many different kinds of plants, but farming always comes with risks. It is heartbreaking for farmers to see young durians fall from the trees or watch their plants die from disease. Can you guess what the weather is like here? In my hometown, the weather can be very unpredictable. Long periods of heat or too much rain can make crops more vulnerable to pests and disease. Most local farmers rely on experience rather than professional agricultural training, so sometimes they cannot solve problems quickly enough. I still lack knowledge and experience myself, so I cannot help my parents as much as I would like to. This is the fence between our garden and our neighbor's garden. The straight fence makes the boundary between the two properties easy to see. In the distance, you can see our neighbor's durian trees. Their fruit has grown much larger than ours. They also grow longan trees. My family hopes that one day we can build a green and diverse fruit garden like theirs. Now, I will continue removing the coffee shoots so the trees can focus on growing healthy, evenly developed fruit. If the quality of the coffee is good, my family may be able to sell it at a better price. This is one of our black pepper plants. Pepper has been grown in this spot for nearly 25 years. However, the original plant died, so my family planted a new one. This pepper vine is about 3 times taller than I am. There is also an orange tree growing between the other crops. Farming here is not always carefully planned. People often use every available piece of land. When one tree dies, they may replace it with a different type of plant. I will show you a few more kinds of fruit. This is an avocado tree growing near the road, and this is an avocado that has fallen to the ground. Avocado prices in my hometown are currently quite low. Only high-quality avocados with stable buyers or export potential can be sold for a better price. Most local avocados are bought by traders at very low prices, sometimes so low that farmers cannot even recover the cost of caring for the trees. This is pennywort growing naturally by the side of the road. There is very little traffic here, and no chemicals are sprayed in this area, so my family sometimes picks it to make a drink. However, we always wash it very carefully before using it. Do plants like this grow naturally where you live? Please leave a comment below and tell me. Many wild plants grow along the roadside because there is not always someone available to clear them away. This is my family's vegetable garden. I showed it briefly in some of my previous videos, but today I want to explain more about why we grow vegetables alongside fruit trees. In my hometown, many older people like to plant fruit trees in their gardens. Part of the reason is simply to have fresh fruit to eat. Another reason is that when the fruit is ripe, their children and grandchildren have an excuse to return home, pick the fruit together, and spend time as a family. Fruit trees also make good use of empty land and provide shade. Some families choose ornamental plants, while my family prefers trees that are useful and connected to family memories. This is a type of squash that spreads naturally throughout the garden, and this is a dragon fruit plant. Some of the fruit is already ripe, but no one has picked it. Perhaps when something is too common and always available, people no longer value it as much as they once did. This video is already getting quite long, but I still want to show you a little more of the neighborhood where I live. The houses in my area are not built close together. Because this is the countryside, the surroundings are quiet and peaceful. This is one of my neighbor's houses. In my hometown, many people get married at a young age. However, from what I have observed in my local area, quite a few young couples eventually separate or divorce. I cannot claim to know the reason behind every marriage, but financial hardship is probably one of the biggest pressures on family life. There is a Vietnamese saying that means people need their basic needs met before they can think about higher values. When a family is under too much financial pressure, husbands and wives can easily become stressed, argue more often, and find it difficult to maintain peace in the home. If you had the choice, would you want to live in a place like this? During the day, the scenery is peaceful, but at night, it can feel very quiet and lonely. These days, most families stay inside their own homes and do not visit or gather as often as people did in the past. In earlier times, even though life was poorer, neighbors often visited one another, talked together, played games, or helped each other with work. Today, living conditions have improved, but people are busier and more separate from one another. Relationships between neighbors are not always as close as they used to be. Along the road, hibiscus plants have been grown into natural fences. As you can see, homes here are usually built quite simply. Many families do not feel the need to build very large houses because they spend most of their days working outside in the garden. Of course, this also depends on each family's financial situation and personal preferences. It has just finished raining, and a few people are on their way home from work. This is another family's garden, with around 200 coffee trees. Land prices in my area have increased quite a lot. Because of that, families who own more land are often considered better off. However, owning land does not necessarily mean having cash available, because income still depends on the harvest and the market price of agricultural products. Many types of fruit ripen and fall to the ground without being eaten or harvested. Next, I am walking toward the paved road. This road was built about 25 years ago. As we get closer to the main road, the houses become a little larger and more modern. Families living near the main road have easier access to transportation, trade, and agricultural markets. Some of the larger homes also have cars. What do you think of the countryside where I live? It looks peaceful from the outside, but farming life is truly difficult. Some of the smaller roads are still hard to travel on, especially during the rainy season. This affects transportation, trade, and access to services in our area. Some road signs have been here for many years. Trees and plants have grown around them and sometimes block the view at night. This can be dangerous. Because the roads are quiet and poorly lit, very few people travel here after dark unless they really need to. The building in front of us is an abandoned house in Vietnam. The difference in living conditions between families can be quite large. Some people are very wealthy, while many others still struggle. For poor family, improving their lives is never easy. One failed harvest, a large debt, or one bad investment decision can create difficulties that last for years. Many people believe that having many children means they will never be lonely when they are old. But in reality, many older people in my hometown still live alone. When their children grow up, they often move to the city to study, work, or start families of their own. Young people usually leave the countryside when they are around 18 years old to look for better opportunities elsewhere. That is why some houses may look very large, even though only an elderly couple lives inside. Many of the gates, fences, and houses here have become old over time. In the past, people from different places came to this area to build new lives. Vietnam went through many years of war, and rebuilding life after the war took a great deal of time. Many of the communities and gardens here were created by earlier generations. People in this region mainly grow coffee and durian. In recent years, the prices of some agricultural products have risen significantly at certain times. In the coffee industry, global supply has been affected by weather conditions in several major coffee-producing countries, including Brazil. This has contributed to higher coffee prices in Vietnam during some periods. Because agricultural prices improved, some local families became more financially secure and were able to repay part of their debts. In the past, based on what I saw around me, many families had to borrow money from banks to invest in their farms, buy fertilizer, or cover everyday expenses. Bank loans place a great deal of pressure on farming families because income from crops often comes only once a year. Meanwhile, interest payments, living expenses, and the cost of caring for the garden continue every month. The roads here still do not have a complete drainage system, so during heavy rain, water can flow across the road or collect in low-lying areas. The house ahead belongs to a relatively well-off family. They grow durian and have had some high-yield harvests. In my opinion, farmers can improve their lives if they are patient, gain the right knowledge, and manage their expenses carefully. However, farming always depends on the weather, plant diseases, and the market, so no one can be certain of making a profit every year. Vietnam exports a large amount of agricultural produce to China. China is a major market and is geographically close to Vietnam, but relying too heavily on one market can also cause prices to fluctuate. Farmers often say, when the harvest is good, the price is low. When the price is high, the harvest is poor. This saying reflects the uncertainty of agricultural life. If a family patiently grows crops that are suitable for the land, finds stable buyers, and avoids blindly following trends, they may earn a good income. However, in reality, when people see that one type of crop is selling at a high price, many of them rush to plant it. By the time the trees begin producing fruit, the supply may be too high, or traders may stop buying. Farmers are then forced to sell at a loss, and some even cut down the entire garden. This is a cycle that farmers have faced many times. I understand some of these difficulties, but I still do not know exactly what I can do to help agricultural products from my hometown reach the market in a more stable and sustainable way. Perhaps farmers need better knowledge, stronger cooperation, clear quality standards, and long-term sales channels. In my area, there are also families in which the husband passed away at a young age, leaving the wife to raise the children alone. Some single mothers have to care for their families while also working on the farm to survive. Every family has its own story, and outsiders can never fully understand what they have been through. About 2 kilometers from my home, there is a small local grocery store. People can buy snacks, drinks, and basic household items there. The shop in front of you is the one I just mentioned. When it rains, some local people stop at a drink stall or grocery store to shelter from the rain, have a drink, and chat. There are not many entertainment venues in the countryside, so small places like this also serve as meeting points for the community. The shop is very simple and mainly sells essential items to people living nearby. Wild grass grows thickly along both sides of the road. The houses have an old-fashioned, rustic countryside appearance. Do you know why some Vietnamese families keep their old house even after building a new one? For them, the old house is more than just a piece of property. It is connected to the early days when the family first built its life. It holds memories of grandparents, parents, and several generations. Vietnamese people often value the things that were with them during difficult times and at the beginning of their journey. Since I started walking through the neighborhood, I have seen a few families who own cars. In the countryside, people sometimes compare their financial situation with that of their neighbors. When one family buys a car or builds a new house, some people are happy for them, while others may feel insecure or become competitive. However, this only applies to a small number of people and does not represent everyone who lives in the countryside. In reality, owning a car may not be necessary for every family here because the roads are small, people may not travel very often, and the cost of using a car is high. Still, for some people, a car is both a means of transportation and a sign that their financial situation has improved. This is the gate to the local cultural village. It was built a long time ago, and moss now covers parts of it. The words on the gate say, "Unity, unity, great unity. Success, success, great success." This is a famous saying associated with the spirit of unity among the Vietnamese people. That spirit played an important role during wartime and is still remembered today as a message about cooperation, compassion, and supporting one another. This is the 5th video on my channel. What do you think about the content I have been making? What should I change or improve? What else would you like me to share about life, work, or culture in the Vietnamese countryside? Please leave a comment below and let me know. Once again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video until the end. My name is Nhu. I am 22 years old and I am the only child in a farming family in Vietnam. Goodbye for now, and I will see you again in my next video. I wish all of you good health, happiness, and joy in your lives.